like to be remembered as unquestionably the best athlete at a period of time.
Robert de Castella, age 26, Australian. Best marathon time, 2 hours, 8 minutes, 18 seconds.
And now, from KBMC, Eugene, Oregon, more delightful music on. That's
Sort of a shock to the system, and I think you probably can't get as much out of yourself as you can.
At Gateshead, I went into it, and I don't think I was as mentally prepared. I'd had a slight leg problem for 4 or 5 weeks before the race, and I was in little doubt about how that leg was going to feel on that sort of course, because that was the sort of course which I'd heard it on originally. Ever since I was little, I've always had the desire to do everything as well as I possibly could. I used to compete against everybody and everything. I remember I'd be walking to the school bus with my brother, and I'd make up little games we could do on the way there, and I made everything into a competition. Everything to see who could be the best. And I think it's something that's carried through. Hey, did you
I was, I suppose, a little bit apprehensive going into the race. I had a fair bit of pressure on me and a lot of expectation in Australia. When I left, I think a lot of the people were expecting me to finish very high up there. I'd finished 6th 2 years ago and 10th last year in the same race. So I was hoping to maybe get up in the top 5 and with a little bit of luck maybe get a medal.
Just walking down, you're on now, Jack.
It's an incredibly tough race. It's probably the hardest and the most competitive race I think I've ever run in, because there are just so many very, very good athletes in the field. There are about 150 runners in total, and every country is sending 9 of its best distance runners. And there is just so much depth there.
Over this cross-country outing, a disappointing fourth for Alberto Salazar. And for Robert de Castella, sixth place.
Well run.
I've always been good, and it's the only thing that I know. Although I've lost races, obviously, I've never done bad. I've never had a bad year. I've never had any bad races.
Incredibly tough first year. See you next time. Come on, I thought it was going to be hard. This is just a training run. No, I thought the trying as hard as this.
I'm not used to losing or to running bad, and I think it's a way of life to me.
I'd forgotten just how tough a race it was, and in retrospect now, I think I ran very well. I don't think I could have run any better on the day. I was very pleased to be competitive and at least have a shot.
I need it for doping control.
Thank you.
I don't think of myself as a superstar. I think of myself as the best marathon runner in the world, but I don't dwell on that. I don't think that it makes me special in any other way. I think I'm good at that one thing, and I don't look at myself as being anything special. I had success right away when I started running. The first time I ever ran a race, I was in 8th grade. I was in junior high school, and I ran a high school junior varsity race. So it was for freshmen and sophomores in high school. And I won without any training. So my first race ever, I had the success, and already people were saying, this kid's going to be good. I think another motivation for me in my running, it's a motivation which has come about in the last few years, but I'm a born-again Christian, and I think that's something which really influences my running. I think when I first started running, it's always been just for myself, the determination to be the best. And I've realized that in itself, that should be the only reason, and that I should use my running in some manner to glorify God in some way.
Home now is Eugene, Oregon, where Alberto lives with his wife Molly and young son Antonio.
I'm going to go out. I'll be back in about an hour, okay?
Okay. See ya.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I think he's realizing that he doesn't have to be successful 24 hours a day to be happy. You know, if he fails at something that he's really tried to do a good job at, he can still come home and he's still a successful father, successful husband, and that's what counts.
Only you put a Cheerio in.
What up?
If I only knew Alberto through his press image and just seeing him race, I would think of him as a totally different person. And I certainly don't think I'd like that person, just because he comes across as just being very brass and just very aggressive, I think. I think his friends and I and people that are close to him most see a totally different man.
Come here, Blue. Come here. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. I'm a relatively private person, and I value my privacy, my family's privacy, and a lot of the media can't accept that, and they can't accept the fact that since I'm besieged by so many interview offers, I've got to say no sometimes, and they feel it's an insult when I tell them that I don't want to do an interview with them. So the next time they write an article, they mention my name, they get their chance for a little revenge, and they write about how ungrateful I am and unfriendly. As far as the bragging part, I think that I've just tried to be truthful and say before races what I actually think my chances of running a certain time are. And I don't call that bragging. I think that that's just, if I think I'm in shape to run 2:08 or 2:10 or whatever, then I'm going to say so.
The University of Oregon in Eugene, where Salazar's training program is conducted under the guidance of track and field coach Bill Dellinger.
When do you leave for Washington State?
We're leaving tomorrow morning.
I think a coach, to be truly effective, has got to understand his runner completely. I think that's one advantage I have with my coach. We've known each other for 6 or 7 years now, and we're very close. We're good friends, and I think he knows me as well as I know
I would
myself.
do him over on the Amazon. You know, I think you ought to wait.
I looked at Alberto as being an individual with a fair amount of talent. And it was the burning desire to want to be great that has developed that talent. If I were to pick an individual to train, it wouldn't necessarily be the individual that has the greatest amount of talent. It would be the one that has the burning desire to want to succeed.
For 51 years, this village of San Vittore Alona in Milan, Italy, has been the site of one of the most unusual races in the world. The course takes the runners through a number of farmyards and through 5 flour mills, hence the name, the Cinque Mulini, the 5 mills. It is here that Di Costella continues his preparation for his clash in Rotterdam with Salazar, here in a place that has almost become a home away from home.
I've been running Cinque Mulini now for 5 or 6 years, and every year when I'm over in Europe I always try to run it because it is such an emotional, and there is so much atmosphere at this race. I just find it really enjoyable. It's a race that I've run all these years and I've never won it. And when you run in a race all that time, you really want to be able to win the race at some stage. The recognition that the crowd gives is very important for the top athlete. I think without the recognition, it would be very hard to almost justify the amount of training that you put in and the amount of dedication that you put in. probably the person that's played the most important role in my career has been my coach, Pat Clohessy. I've known Pat since I was about 14 or 15 years of age when I went to Xavier, and since then, when I was really originally a fairly ordinary sort of a runner, I've grown with Pat and my performances have improved over those years.
I think his background's very important, his background at Xavier College, where he went to the school at 14. He developed gradually there. He always enjoyed his running. I think that's something to be that distinguishes Rob from other athletes. He enjoyed his running. He never found it, drudgery on the way up. In fact, he used to say to me if he didn't enjoy his running, he'd give it away, and I always remembered that.
I think to achieve anything, you've got to be prepared to forego a little bit of pain, or you've got to be prepared to, knuckle down and guts it out. Doesn't matter what it is, you've got to be prepared to make certain sacrifices. If you don't ever push yourself, you'll never know what you can do. Being the best, I think, is important from the point of view that, it's nice to have a goal, and being the best is a great goal to have. But to me, it's more important to, I think, do my best rather than being the best.
At home, Rob de Castella is able to share the pressures and problems with his wife, Gayleen, a former cross-country champion herself.
Supposed to put it in the pot, not on the stove.
I get a lot of motivation and encouragement from Gayleen. It's very important for me to have somebody to talk to who understands running, especially when you're travelling, when you're at home. Gayleen is incredibly supportive to everything that I do. A lot of people don't understand why I place so much importance and why I sacrifice so much for my running. Gayleen not only understands, but encourages me to do it.
You look like you could feed an army.
Robert doesn't put an end point on anything that he does. He doesn't go into a race not believing or believing he can run 2.5 or 2.6 or 2.7. He goes into the race to run against his competitors, to run as well as he can, and usually to win. He doesn't limit himself psychologically, and I think that's where his strength comes from.
Are you a smoker or a non-smoker, Mr. Dickinson?
Non-smoking, thanks.
Constant travel is a fact of life for world-class runners. But on this occasion, it's a pleasure trip to visit Rob's father, Rollet, in Melbourne.
My problem is the stiffness that I get in the upper, not so much the quads as higher up in the adductor.
The elder de Castella is no stranger to marathons himself. 7 years ago, he suffered a heart attack that could have left him a semi-invalid. Instead, he embarked on a regime of diet and running. He is currently preparing for his 18th marathon at the age of 58.
I don't know, when you see, even some of the top guys like, Salazar's knee lift is just so low.
Yes.
Dad and I are very different in a lot of ways. Sure, I've probably got similar attitudes or similar beliefs as what my father has. I think we're both very intensive people. I would call him almost a perfectionist when it comes to just about anything that he sets his mind on.
It's a matter of, I suppose, adopting the right lifestyle, fitting it in with everything else, particularly in the early stages, and being able to organise oneself and motivate oneself to enjoy the running. At the same time, I think that's very important. I run for a number of reasons. Partly because I like to set the example to younger people that they should continue to run. As the years go by, it's just as important as it is for the younger people, perhaps more so.
Unlike most top runners, de Castella finds time in his training schedule to work. He is employed as a biophysicist at the Australian Institute of Sport in Canberra.
I work in the sports science lab because I enjoy working with athletes, because working with the instrumentation and a little bit of science interests me. It's the type of thing that I enjoy doing.
On this occasion, it is De Castella himself who is the subject of the research, conducted by Dr. Dick Telford, coordinator of sports sciences at the Institute.
Okay. Yep.
De Castella is on record as having said that running is simply a matter of putting one foot in front of the other, and then alternating them as quickly as possible. On a treadmill at the Institute, he runs 5-minute miles back to back, while sophisticated instruments gather data on body functions. Computers measure the critical capacity to consume oxygen and evaluate the production of carbon dioxide and its relationship to the runner's arch enemy, lactic acid.
Heart rate now is 168 at 2 degrees, and the VO2 is 64. And you're running at 5-minute mile pace. Keep it going. Heart rate's around the 180. Keep at it. It's over 70 mils per kilogram. Been going 9 minutes, a little bit longer if you can.
The human body can be described as a machine composed of muscles and tendons on a framework of bones. The fuel system is a combination of carbohydrates and body fats. The former stored as glycogen in the large muscles of the body, especially in the legs. The muscles can utilize glycogen without oxygen, but this anaerobic stage lasts only for a few minutes, producing lactic acid. Lactic acid paralyzes muscles and causes the crippling fatigue that follows sudden, rapid activity. When an athlete reaches this anaerobic stage towards the end of a run, it's like hitting a wall of fatigue and pain. Elite runners develop their ability to absorb and pump oxygen through their system by training for hours each day, year after year. Aerobic, or oxygen-enriched energy conversion, is the only way the human body can keep running for the grueling 2 hours plus required for a marathon race. While running 26 miles at a 5-minute mile pace, the heart rate will climb from 40 to 170 beats per minute as it pumps over 30 liters of blood through the body every 60 seconds. With each step, 400 kilograms of force has to be absorbed by the bones and sinews of legs and feet. And there are 40,000 steps in the 26 miles, 385 yards of the marathon. Sports scientists like Telford report that De Castella's ability to consume oxygen by itself puts him in the super athlete class. The Commonwealth Games gold medalist consumes oxygen with twice the efficiency of the average mortal and scores 20 to 30% higher than other athletes tested at the Institute. The tale that technology tells is the same in Eugene, Oregon. Like De Castella, Boston Marathon winner Alberto Salazar has selected his parents carefully, then developed his inherited gifts through year after year of consistent toil. The machines have had their say. Now it's De Castella and Salazar's turn at Rotterdam.
Welcome to Rotterdam, city with the biggest ports all over the world. On April 9, the third international Rotterdam Marathon shall take place. The marathon shall start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, while 5 minutes later a fun run reaching the 15K starts at almost the same place on the Koolsingel. Finish for the runners of both races shall also be on the Koolsingel, in the center of the city, in front of the town hall where we are meeting each other at this moment. Welcome to this official press conference at City Hall, Town Hall of Rotterdam.
Considering the fact that you run so few marathon races in your careers, have you chosen Rotterdam for a particular purpose? Is it a fast track?
For several reasons, I've chosen to run here. Probably the most important being that Alberto is running here as well.
I guess just the main reason I'm running here is because Robert's here. And I have the fastest time in the world for a point-to-point course, and Robert has the fastest time in the world for a loop course. So I think if both of us can run well here, we're going to know who is the fastest overall. So I'm really looking forward to that challenge, and I just hope that we can be a little lucky and have good weather on Saturday. And I think if we have good weather, we'll both have a good chance of running under 2:08.
Jack, I'm making the interview. Okay. I'm good. Good. How do you do? Cameraman. Good. Southend. My friend, Richard. Yeah. So we are collecting our things, and then we would like to make the interview on the hill when it's possible. On the hill. It's a very beautiful sight. Okay? Okay. Sure.
Or June, but
right back.
We call it the hill.
The difference between the two of you in best times is only 4 seconds. It's nice.
No, it isn't. Not very much at all.
How is it possible that you meet for the first time? Did you run away from each other?
No, it's just we haven't run that. Neither of us has run that many marathons, so it's just the first time that everything's worked out where we can run at the same place.
I think the marathon here in Rotterdam is going to be one of the most competitive and intensive marathons that it has ever been staged outside of the Olympics. It's a very, very good field, and it's going to be a very fast race, and I think we can all contribute towards a new world record time with a bit of luck. Hi. How's it going? Yeah.
But he's just really cranky right now.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Off the schedule, so I guess sometimes he feels tired and stuff, and then.
We're not letting him sleep during the day. That's the problem.
Yeah.
He wants to.
Had your hands full out there before?
Yeah.
From Molly went out for a run.
Yeah. I finally brought him to the room. He just yelled the whole time.
It's good for his lungs.
Yeah. That's right.
A good distance runner, huh?
I'll be an opera singer.
No, marathon runner.
I know that.
Poor kid. Doesn't know what he's in for.
I was asked if I wanted to stay at the same hotel with Robert here prior to the race, and I said, sure, that's fine. In fact, I'd enjoy it, and I'm sure he feels the same way. It's a good chance to talk, and meet each other.
Okay, we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
There's some time for socializing, but not much. It's back to the business at hand, with race day fast approaching.
You have to really want to run to succeed, I think. I decided years ago that this is what I wanted to do, and I'm not really prepared to let anything stop me. I think running is a fairly simplistic activity or a sport, because I think all you really have to do is be prepared to put in the work, and provided you know what the right work is, provided you've got a good advisor or a good coach directing you, then I think it's just a simple matter that you're going to succeed.
I've trained very hard and very consistently for the last 4 or 5 years. I think it's harder than anybody that I know of in terms of the quality and the consistency that I've had. But also I think I have a very good coach, and I believe in myself, and I'm confident. And I think when you add all those 3 factors together, you're going to have success.
11, 12, 13. I think the marathon holds an incredible, almost a mystique about it, because it draws together so many variables, and the athletes that run it, first of all, have to commit themselves totally to their training and preparation. They have to put in incredible mileage and incredible training just to prepare themselves. mentally preparing yourself for the period in the race where you are physically and mentally exhausted. You say, you know, will I guts it out? Will I keep the pressure on? Or will I back off a little bit? And you always have to sort of mentally be aware that I'm going to get to a stage like that in a race, so that when you do get there, it's not a surprise, or it's something that you've been waiting for and expecting.
A lot of people apply a sort of mystical quality to the marathon, where even if you think you're ready for it, that something may happen in that race and you may not run well anyways. And I think there's always that chance, but I think a lot of people run into trouble when they run the marathon because they're going into it scared already. Set out at a pretty good pace. It wasn't too fast. It was a little bit faster than the pace that we wanted to run. We wanted to try and run 3:10 per kilometer, and the first kilometer was probably about 3:05, and every 5K after that we were supposed to be trying to run about 15:10, and we were running about 15 minutes for the first 20K or so, so we were a little bit faster.
All of the traffic and the crowd control wasn't really very good. It was very difficult to continue and maintain your concentration when there's so much happening around you. But I think that's what you have to be able to do. You have to be very single-minded and almost block out every other thing from your mind and just concentrate on what you're doing. And as a result, you know, I can't really remember any stage being flustered or being concerned about the traffic or the crowd, although there were certainly stages in the race where they really interfered. Once or twice we had to actually physically charge our way through the crowd to get back onto the course.
You're out there and you're trying to beat each other, but at the same time you feel empathy with the other runners because you're all going through the same thing. And it is sort of a brotherhood, you pass the water bottle back and forth, and it's a good feeling, to know that even though you're trying to compete against somebody hard, at the same time you kind of want him to do good also.
Sure, you probably have to push yourself or be prepared to push yourself through barriers of pain. The biggest pain that you have to try and work yourself through is just the incredible weariness and the incredible fatigue that sort of envelopes you like a cloud. It's like one of those dreams where you're moving in slow motion and everything else is going past at normal speed and you just can't keep up, and you feel like you're in molasses.
About the halfway point, and the guy who had been setting the pace dropped back, and I think he dropped out of the race. And I was still feeling good at that stage in the race, and yet I knew that if somebody didn't start to press very soon, that we weren't going to have a chance of getting the record, because we were already slower than record pace by about 20 seconds at that point.
I think you really need to concentrate on achieving little goals. You certainly, I don't feel, should become totally introverted and draw within yourself during the race, because I think you dwell on little things such as, you know, how your feet are, if you're losing a toenail, or you've got a blister, or you've got a stitch, or you know, your muscles are sore or something. You've got to just, while you've got to monitor those things, you can't afford to let them become too dominant a feeling. Alberto seemed really very intense, and he almost seemed, you know, almost trance-like at some stages during the race. He was almost totally withdrawing within himself, whereas I was just trying to relax, mentally and physically.
Robert started pressing the pace with about 5 miles to go or so, and with probably a little less than 4 miles to go, he really started to accelerate. And up to that point, it felt like it was starting to strain me a bit, but at the same time, I thought that I'd be able to stay up. There was only 3 or 4 miles to go, but then he really picked it up, and he really sprinted up a hill, and he just kept going after that. And I went with him for about a half mile or so, and I was waiting for him to slow down, but I knew at that point that if they didn't slow down, there was no way I could keep up. So I was just hoping they were going to slow down, but unfortunately they didn't, and they started to pull away. At that point, a lot of things ran through my head, because in the last 2 or 3 years, nobody's ever pulled away from me during the race. It's only been at the very finish, you know, in the last quarter mile or so, that anyone's ever pulled away from me. And so I knew I was in trouble.
It wasn't until several kilometres, or 2 or 3 kilometres later, that I realised that we'd broken away, Lopez and I, and we were the only 2 left. Everybody else had been dropped off.
There was no way that I could have kept up. There's absolutely no way. The last 3 miles, I just fell back, and even though I've run almost 2 minutes faster on that day, there was no way that I could have run any faster, you know, or that I could have stayed up with De Castell and Lopes. I knew that it was over, that there was no way I was going to catch him.
For that whole last 5 kilometres, he was right on my shoulder, or running right by my side. I was just trying everything to get rid of him, and he was just hanging there almost like a shadow. He wasn't prepared to take the lead. Even once or twice I eased the pace back to try and get him to do some leading, and he just eased back too. And I wasn't sure whether he was tired, whether he was struggling a little bit, and he was grateful that the pace had slowed, or whether he was just super confident that he'd be able to kick past me at the finish over the last 100 metres or so. 1,000 metres to go, and he was still there, and I was picking the pace up more and more. 500 metres to go, and he was still there, and I was saying, crikey, is he going to just sprint off and leave me like a rocket, or is it going to be neck and neck right down to the line, or what? With about only a couple of 100 metres to go, I just sensed that he'd just lost that little bit of contact that he had with me. And as soon as I sensed that, I really picked up and I really put everything I had into it. Even as I crossed the finish line, I didn't know where he was.
It was so slow and you had 2:39.
Was it 2:39? Yeah, good. Good.
I know.
What was the last 5K?
You're under 15 minutes for 5K for the between 35 and 40.
It felt so slow, it really
What
did.
slow?
Yeah, really felt slow. Okay. Just cruising. Really was. Punching the diarrhea. Okay, we must go up.
Push me.
Okay. Okay, Rob.
How many toes are killing me?
Yeah, sorry.
The time, 2 hours, 8 minutes and 37 seconds. 24 seconds off the coveted world mark. What De Castella did not yet know was that after running the first 25 miles, 385 yards of the marathon, he covered the final mile in an incredible 4 minutes and 31 seconds.
Talk about it. That race. That race. Hey, hello.
Okay, man.
Those attacks.
Well,
you were still there,
yeah, we were both together with 500 metres to go, and then I really tried to just kick as flat out as I could. And I didn't know where he was. I thought he was right behind me all the way.
Good mentally. He was getting a big old head.
Hoping that the fatigue had built up in his legs more than it had in mine, and I would have the strength to finish on faster than he did over the last several hundred metres.
I think it's probably one of the best things for him because he has to lose some time, and now it's out of the way, and now he can just concentrate on doing the best he can. I know he's really hungry now for the Olympics.
Just look after yourself. Just settle down.
Oh, yeah. No, it's good for me. The year to go.
Well, it takes a lot of pressure off him.
Yeah.
It must be really hard for him to stay.
Two men, one ambition, to be the best there is. Robert De Castella has beaten the seemingly invincible Alberto Salazar on the day. There is another day on the horizon, in Los Angeles, at the Olympics. The quest for gold.
On your Deke. It's certainly very similar to an obsession. I think an obsession is something that you just keep on doing and doing and doing. And running is similar to that for me. It's just something that I want to just keep on doing and keep on achieving. And I really don't know when I'll stop. Probably when it stops being an obsession.